Pittman is here. Pittman's here. I thought he was.
Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate the opportunity to be with each of you here in Indiana County, the heart of Pennsylvania's conventional natural gas drilling and service industry. As some of you know, I do a lot of familiar and friendly faces in the audience. I grew up in Du Bois, just 50 miles to the north. I know the region well, and I've spent more than a 35-year career working in the gas utility, pipeline, and production industry, primarily here in the Commonwealth. My son is doing his master's work here at IUP, and I know how important this industry is for your region and for your community. I also know that the erosion in our market prices for natural gas have had a detrimental impact on this community and this county. It's impacting the liquidity at some of our local power generation facilities, as we're producing more and more of our electric power with gas, primarily because it's cheapest and the cleanest way to generate baseload power. That erosion in prices reduced rig counts to as low as 13 back in June, down from 111 just a few short years ago. We have more than doubled that number now, with 29 operating rigs in the Commonwealth today, primarily in Greene and Washington counties in the southwest and Bradford, Susquehanna, and Tioga counties in the north. So today, I'd hope you allow me to shine a light on what's happening in our unconventional or horizontal development industry. I want to talk about our country's energy revolution and how affordable and abundant natural gas in particular is creating opportunities right here at home, across the nation, and indeed across the globe. First of all, many folks in this room may believe that hydraulic fracturing or fracking has been the game changer, has led to these huge changes in shale gas development. Although vitally important, hydraulic fracturing is a completion technology that is a 5 to 7 day process in the 50-year life of a well and has been utilized for well more than a half a century. The real game changer for unconventional shallow natural gas development has come from the technology to turn a drill bit horizontally, to recover far more of the resource that's in the formation, and to drill 8 to 12 wells off of a single location to reduce the surface impact dramatically. Few know that the production has been so good in these horizontal wells that in some cases we're producing enough gas off of a single location to fuel more than 100,000 homes off of one location. As a result, our utility prices for natural gas here in Pennsylvania are 54 to 73% less, depending on which utility, since 2008. Just so you know, folks in this community, most of you are served by Peoples Natural Gas. The deepest discount of natural gas pricing has occurred in the Peoples system, with a 73% reduction in purchased natural gas costs. Many of you are completely familiar with our conventional or vertical drilling industry. Prior to 2008, we drilled approximately 4,000 wells annually and produced about a quarter of Pennsylvania's natural gas supply, or roughly 180 billion cubic feet. Since 2008, we've drilled a total of 9,200 unconventional or horizontal wells, with approximately 2,000 of those wells that remain waiting for pipeline or are in the queue for completion or shut in. So out of a fleet today of about 7,200 wells that are active, unconventional wells that are in operation in Pennsylvania today, we're producing over 5 trillion cubic feet annually, or 25% of America's natural gas supply. Yes, we've gone since 2008 producing from a quarter of Pennsylvania's supply to producing 25% of America's natural gas supply annually from the state of Pennsylvania. It's been an extraordinary opportunity for our state. And we're doing it with extensive oversight and in a highly compliant fashion. The very organization that I represent, the MSC, was formed in 2008 with the intent of modernizing Pennsylvania regulatory code for high-level compliance by our industry and to make sure we get this done right. We agreed up front to provide DEP with the resources to grow their staff from 60 in 2008 to over 200 today by raising permit fees from $100 per well to over $5,000 today. Contrary to what some would have you believe, those of you who know me or are familiar with those in our industry, you would know that most of the folks around our table are Pennsylvanians. We like to do all the things that you and your family like to do. We like to hike and bike and hunt and fish and camp, enjoy the outdoors just as you do. How we conduct our operations is important, and a positive, compliant legacy for this industry is absolutely paramount. I'm also keenly aware that many in this room are well versed in oil and gas. This region has been the birthplace of our nation's rich energy industry, whether it be our coal resources here in Indiana County, the first commercial natural gas well over in Murraysville in 1878, or the first oil well up in Titusville and the Drake well in 1859. Indiana has been at the heart of Pennsylvania's energy heartbeat for a long, long time. We have a great, unique American story to tell. Thanks for the hard work of the many folks here in this region and across our industry. Much needed economic and environmental gains have begun to take hold. Our region's record natural gas production is driving an American energy revolution and indeed an American manufacturing revolution as well. As a result, consumers and families have more of their income to save and invest. Our air is getting cleaner, and Made in America is a reality once again. Our work here in Pennsylvania now places us as the second largest natural gas producer in the nation and has contributed to achieving substantial CO2 reductions in the U.S. In fact, gas use has enabled us to hit more than a 20-year low in CO2 emissions, according to the U.S. EPA, for emissions here in our nation. The video that you just watched highlights many of the opportunities and shines a light on the many benefits generated by clean, domestically produced natural gas. As I noted a few moments ago, many of the men and women who are sitting here in this room today have helped to pioneer and advance this industry right here in the Appalachian Basin. As a result of their work, we're beginning to see a number of bright spots to grow our economy, all while we weather the deepest decline in natural gas pricing in more than 30 years. As you likely know, we've moved from a period of energy scarcity in the 70s and 80s. Many of you may think back to the Carter years and the passage of the Fuel Use Act in 1979 that eliminated the use of natural gas in the future for industrial applications. With a heightened dependence on hostile foreign nations that don't share our values, today, American energy is sparking the rebirth of manufacturing due to its abundance, affordability, and strength. We also have the ability to advance the global economy from right here in this region and state if we realize our potential to grow our energy options, rather than eliminating them and potentially picking winners and losers. Few know that our energy will help electrify underdeveloped nations across the globe, can aid in feeding the planet, and can drive success for those countries focused on achieving their air emission reduction targets. And we'll do this with the highest level of environmental standards anywhere on the planet. While we boost our own energy security, our friends overseas can benefit from less dependence on energy from hostile neighbors. Our abundant supply of affordable energy provides the foundation for life-saving medications and can produce products essential for a standard quality of life. Few know we don't just heat our homes, cook our food, dry our clothes, and heat our hot water. Natural gas is responsible for manufacturing nearly every single consumer product that each of you touch today. Think of the products that touch your life every day. All steel, glass, plastics, chemicals, fertilizers, powdered metals, pharmaceutical medications, and today 1 of 3 electrons that comes to your home is being generated from natural gas. The steel and fiberglass blades for wind turbines are manufactured with gas, and yes, even some of the glasses used in solar panels are manufactured with the very gas that we produce here in Indiana County. In short, nearly everything we touch in virtually all aspects of our economy are made possible by oil and natural gas. We know in every corner of the Commonwealth, shale is already providing game-changing benefits by creating tens of thousands of good-paying jobs, generating more than $1 billion in impact tax revenues for our communities, as well as consumer savings to the tune of $1,200 of additional disposable income for every U.S. household. That $1,200 figure is expected to grow to more than $3,500 annually by 2025, according to an IHS Markit study. The impact fee collections over the last 5 years for Indiana County alone have topped $5 million. But how do we remain competitive and make our Commonwealth an attractive place to invest capital so everyone benefits? We must focus on building and improving our infrastructure, as pipelines will be the key to our future prosperity. The Marcellus and Utica basins are the most productive shale resources in the world. We must make sure we can be an attractive location for investors to sink capital here and not elsewhere. Just this week, I briefed an international group of investors from the UK and Pittsburgh looking to develop their shale resources. China, South America, Australia, Germany, and other nations are also competing in many cases for the same capital investments that our folks are in the States. And yes, we have approximately a dozen major shale plays here in the United States competing for capital and competing for the jobs that this capital produces. So we need to be a location where investors want to be and want to place their dollars. Nothing drives me more crazy when a policymaker may say, where else are they going to go? The gas is here. Some investors here in Pennsylvania have already moved their capital, and we've directly witnessed job losses as a result. And as crude oil and natural gas prices recover, producers are becoming more optimistic as it relates to production. There has been great emphasis placed on natural gas liquids in the southwestern portion of Pennsylvania. Eastern Ohio and northern West Virginia has under-pressured areas that also produce liquids like ethane, pentane, butane, isobutane, propane, and NGLs. Just so you know, there's very little oil being produced in the shales in this basin, but those liquid hydrocarbons are game changers in terms of new job growth and new manufacturing opportunity. Ethane alone has sparked an enormous investment, as you know, in Beaver County with the siting of the Shell petrochemical facility. That facility will take ethane and crack ethane into ethylene. We'll secondarily take that ethylene and crack that into polyethylene, forming a plastic pellet. From that process, paints and coatings, sealants and plastics, siding, water bottles, tires can all be manufactured downstream. The manufacturing for our region, and indeed this county, can be enormous. Building our energy infrastructure delivery network that connects those consumers to where the gas is being produced, however, is absolutely critical. That means creating an environment that welcomes that investment and does not stand in its way. And you have skin in the game. As I said earlier, I grew up in Du Bois. I watched nearly my entire high school class leave town to find a job. In most cases, they left the state. Today, for the first time in my life, we have the opportunity to generate hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs here in Pennsylvania and in this county through affordable energy, to keep our kids home with a family wage-sustaining job and making products once again. We can rewrite the history books, not for a restatement of the obituary of our manufacturing heritage, but a new birth announcement where our region is leading the world in manufacturing. Shale gas has already sparked a new economic opportunities, such as the Power Panda projects. In the past 2 months, they've opened 2 large plants in Lycoming and Bradford County, generating electricity from Marcellus shale gas and delivering that electricity to hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses across Pennsylvania and the eastern seaboard. To the east, Sunoco Logistics, based in Philadelphia, is spending upwards of $4 billion to expand its Mariner East pipeline system to move natural gas liquids from the Marcellus and Utica Shale region in the western part of Pennsylvania to an export terminal in Marcus Hook near Philadelphia, where it's spending $2.5 billion to modernize and save a former refinery that was going to be retired and those jobs lost forever. Procter & Gamble in northern Pennsylvania was considering moving their manufacturing plant out of state. However, today, through use of shale gas from wells close to their plant, they are fueling their manufacturing processes, using that gas for their electric power and space heating needs, and selling the excess power back onto the grid. This is a playbook that I believe will be played over and over again in the Commonwealth if we get the equation right. These investments in Pennsylvania and the jobs they will bring, they will continue, but only if we get that equation right by recognizing that natural gas and American energy are not a political playing card, but rather an economic and environmental opportunity. We need to be thinking in terms of energy freedom and energy progress and a secure energy future for our children, not the fool's errand of those striving to keep it in the ground. We need to make the case for connecting our industry's production to markets that need it. Government and our community's best course of action is to work with the industry to connect production to markets and to set aside policy battles on regulations that will deliver little to no environmental benefit. I have to ask, do you realize that what our society looks like without natural gas, without motor fuels, without home heating fuels, jet fuel, or the very products that deliver uninterrupted power to your home each day? Fossil fuels are life-sustaining, and they are creating the jobs of tomorrow. That is what is at risk for those who are calling for a ban on hydraulic fracturing, a technology that's been used safely since the 1940s here in Pennsylvania. This technology is responsible for natural gas, for liquids including oil, from the porous spaces inside of solid rock. Without it, little of what we know today in our advanced society is possible. And as we know firsthand here in Indiana County, picking winners and losers when it comes to energy policy brings harm to hardworking families and sends our environmental progress backwards by granting this minority of activists free access through the back doors of EPA, through our DEP and other regulatory agencies, making them the most militant in their approach to our industry and its members. The United States Chamber of Commerce last month provided a stark warning of what would happen if those well-funded and misguided groups had their way. A ban on modern drilling techniques and responsible development of our resources would result in the loss of 15 million jobs, including 466,000 of those jobs right here in Pennsylvania. Gasoline prices that we've seen some softening in over the last 2 years would double. The cost of electricity would double, and the country's gross domestic product would fall by $1.6 trillion annually. These are costs that American families and businesses cannot afford, especially today. But you already know that, and you're living through this downturn and experiencing the wrath of a significant slowdown in Indiana County. I've already spoken about the need of infrastructure. You need to know that pipelines are indeed the safest way or safest form of energy transportation, and they are the vital arteries to get gas to consumers. The lack of a modernized infrastructure here in Pennsylvania continues to push down the market price of gas to producers and mineral owners alike. Bid week prices for the month of November here in Pennsylvania average $1.08 per MMBTU, while the NYMEX or Henry Hub pricing in Louisiana is $2.80. This is the deepest discount of any active basin in the United States. That's a $1.73 haircut for every unit of gas for Pennsylvania producers and mineral owners alike compared to the national benchmark for pricing of natural gas. These economics have forced many producers here in Pennsylvania to lay down the rigs, putting a lot of people, especially those in the supply chain, out of work. Despite these challenges, I would share with you that Pennsylvania's energy future is very bright if we remain engaged and focused. Considering Pennsylvania and Indiana's county deep roots in the history of this industry, it's easy to forget that Marcellus is a very young shale play. We're very much still in the first inning of a 9-inning game. It's only been about 8 years since we've been producing natural gas and liquids unconventionally from the Marcellus and Utica shales. This basin still has extraordinary upside resource potential, and some of that rests right beneath our feet here in Indiana County. For the next 5 to 10 years, it is critical for us to mature our industry and secure our competitive advantage. This region may not be directly in the bullseye of production, but there will be wells drilled here in Indiana County that will feed this industry, and we will feed this industry with the equipment and skilled workers to help make this play an unparalleled success. From our perspective, energy is not a blue state or a red state issue. It's a United States issue. This issue the states that remain competitive by attracting capital investment and growing downstream opportunities will be the states that remain fiscally sound. With a new administration in the White House and expanded majorities by the Republicans in Congress and here in Pennsylvania, we do have a bit of optimism that energy options won't be taken off the table in the name of politics. But it's important to keep in mind that the Marcellus is competing with more than a dozen shale plays here in the United States, and as I mentioned before, numerous plays across the globe. Policies on the federal level could make those other plays across the globe more attractive, or policies on the state level, such as excessive taxes, wasteful and unnecessary regulations, giving in to efforts to slow down infrastructure development, can make Pennsylvania a less attractive place to invest capital. You should be proud of your leaders and elected officials here in Indiana County. They understand our industry. They've been champions of common sense policies and have worked diligently to maintain our competitiveness despite calls to erode that standing. Two of those gentlemen are to my right and to your left. We gather, process, and transport the energy feedstock that's vital to your everyday life, and we do it safely and efficiently. There are no developments in our industry, whether it's market dynamics, legislative and regulatory matters, drilling and completion technology, or production techniques that are unimportant. Safety on the work site and ongoing safe operations in our communities is absolutely job number one. How we are taxed impacts how capital is deployed and affects when and whether capital investment will be made here in Pennsylvania. Some would choose to take the dollars to Harrisburg for redistribution. The impact tax model that places those dollars directly into your community, including here in Indiana County, as I mentioned a short time ago, approximately $5 million, a little more than that. It's been a huge winner. Delayed and inconsistent permit review times creates uncertainty and it erodes predictability and has already led to some relocation of capital outside of Pennsylvania. We need to work together to advance smart, pragmatic policies that will move Pennsylvania forward to build the necessary infrastructure to connect our reserves and deliver the promise of getting clean natural gas to the markets that use it. It's up to all of us here in this room to remain watchful and with a vigilant eye on the policies of our leaders and those that are advanced in Harrisburg, Washington, and yes, probably most important, even in our townships, boroughs, and communities, if we are to capitalize on the opportunities that affordable and abundant natural gas can create here in Pennsylvania and across our basin. There's a world of opportunity in clean, American-produced shale gas and the abundant energy future it creates. We need to stay focused on seizing those opportunities, on opening more doors to businesses here in Indiana County, throughout Pennsylvania, and again across the basin. Energy underlies every human endeavor that improves our lives. When energy becomes scarce, we have more conflict, more war, famine, and unrest. We can get it right if all of us stay focused on the opportunity. The world needs more of what we provide, and we are positioned to deliver it if we all work together. I want to thank the Chamber and each of you for being here today. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. It's a pleasure to be here. I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a joyous holiday season. Thank you very much.